Um, so we are recording now, people, but you will only appear on the recording if you speak. So if you don't want to appear on the recording, you can pop any ideas in the chat that you have. So our focus tonight is looking at literacy. So we're going to jump in and have a look at some ideas of using Google Workspace tools in our literacy program. And we've got a couple of really awesome teachers and educators who are going to share some ideas with us. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but our school has definitely been diving into structured literacy. And I'm going to hold my opinion of that tightly to my chest. But one of the things that I have been doing with my kids is when you define a word, and you're in Chrome, it gives you this graph over time. And that's been something that has really engaged my kids in actually wanting to explore the vocabulary a little bit more. And we've had some great conversations. The other day, we were looking at invent, innovate, and campaign because we were talking about the sustainable goals. And the three graphs were hugely different. And invent was actually used a lot more in the 1800s than it is now. So if you're looking for a way just to make vocabulary a little bit more interesting, maybe just jump into Chrome, go to find, and then go more and have a look at those graphs. Can stimulate some good discussion. Okay, so we are going to have to race through these. Great idea, Michael. Could share the literacy tool. Okay, Rachel's going to read that and come back to us. So we have a lot to get through. So we're going to try and spend just a couple of minutes, maybe 2 to 5 minutes on each slide. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and jump in and ask them or pop them in the chat. And we'll definitely get to them before we finish. So one of the things, very simple thing that I do all the time in Google Workspace is structure the thinking for the students simply by using tables. So just by putting things in tables and actually setting it out for them step by step, it's amazing the difference that can make for your students, especially when it helps with the thinking. What do I do first? What do I do next? Where am I supposed to put this? Giving them placeholders for their thinking, giving them placeholders for your examples has made a huge difference. And on this example here, which if you click on the picture, if you have the slides, you'll find that it's linked for you. I use these visual icons as well to help scaffold the student thinking. And that is a Chrome extension called Stickity. So if you haven't used Stickity before, definitely jump in and just Google Stickity Chrome extension. It's really great for scaffolding and gives you just so many really cool stickers that you don't have to spend time creating yourself. So I use that all the time. And thinking about scaffolding and putting places, this comes from Edu Protocols. It's one of their 8-part thinking. And again, just using tables and structuring. So I give the kids an image, or I actually get them to find the image, or we use an AI. We talk about keywords and things like that. And then they have to put some verbs, some pronouns, some common nouns, maybe some conjunctions, maybe some appositives, whatever it is that we're working on at that moment. And they scaffold that around, connected to the image, and then they write their story. So they quite like that too. And there's 2 examples, one with less thinking and one with more thinking. So you can totally differentiate it for the age and stage that you're working at. Okay, we are powering through these slides. Now, we had a lot of questions about structured literacy. So on the slide, if you're on the slide deck, these are all linked. These are all AI sites that give you some resources for structured literacy. So the writing pathway, these 3 on the left, have a lot of things that will create generated text for phonics sounds that you want to use, and it will give you your own personalized stories. Project Read will give you games. It will give you a decodable generator. It will give you text you can put in, do your own text. This quizzes has 101 links to anything literacy. And this phonics maker is really cool, but it's paid. So you get a 7-day free trial. But what is really cool about this one is that it generates all the images in the same style. So you can create your own little generated story with the sounds that you want to practice, with all the pictures looking the same throughout. So that's quite a fun one. I think it was like $19 a month, but I don't know if that was 19 NZ. Okay, that's lots of quick fire ideas straight off. Any questions? Any comments? Anybody want to throw anything in? No, I'm getting good at my right time. The name of the Chrome, yeah, Stickity is the name. That's right, Rachel. Well done. There were some questions about differentiating with AI and literacy. Lots of people, this one on the left is Diffit. So Diffit is a great AI tool to use for literacy. And the reason I love it is because all of the ideas and the tasks it gives you open in Google Workspace tools. So you can open them in docs, slides, or forms, and you can now pick and choose the templates that you want to create it in. You can create from a book, you can create from a text, you can create just from a vocab list. It'll create the story for you. It will create vocab questions, short answer questions, comprehension questions, and then you can have all kinds of really fun templates where they can do their thinking as well. So that starts with the AI. So you open the AI, you give it the information, any level, all the way from littlies up to secondary, and it creates the resource. The one on the right is Brisk. I'm sure there's lots of people already using Brisk, but it starts with your resource. So you open the resource that you want to create a task with, and then Brisk will create whatever it is that you ask it to create using that specific resource. A couple of people asked about AI to give feedback for writing. So you'll notice on Brisk here that I've just highlighted the glow and grow. So if you open a student's piece of work and you click the little Brisk icon, which is this little icon here, then you can click the glow and grow and it will create suggestions, things they've done well, and next steps for them. And you can go through and read those first before you drop them into the comments. So you can change them, you can edit them, you can change them however you want. So Brisk is a Chrome extension. So you have to go to the web store, marketplace, download Chrome. AI is a web, Diffit is a web-based AI. So those are two really good AI tools for literacy. Does anyone have any experience with either of those two that they want to share? Yeah, Martin recommends both of them. There were a lot of questions I know in the past about the security of Brisk, and lots of people have kind of commented they were a little bit unsure about using Brisk with the students' work. The people who've created Brisk have come out and said that they meet all the security and privacy and things. I'm not categorically saying they do. I'm just saying that they have come out and said they do. So it's up to your school to do your own due diligence on those, but I know there are lots of schools that are using them. Again, UDL for the Universal Design for Learning with Google Workspace. So voice typing, my students use voice typing all the time. And of course, if you're on Chromebooks, then Chromebook has that voice typing dictation function as well. And if you're in Google Slides, you can voice type into the speaker notes and then just copy and paste them in. So if voice to text is the better way for your students to go, then those options are there. Using audio is super easy in Google Workspace. So you can import an audio into slides and it will, the kids can then listen to whatever it is that you want to say. But I can't recommend Mote highly enough either. So it is a Chrome extension and it will allow you to add voice notes to Google Workspace tools. It will also now read back to you, which is really awesome. It will translate and it will also add hypernotes. So you can link some words in a Google Doc and it will add the voice note to those words. So I often write the instructions and then I use a Mote hyperlink and I speak the instructions. So the students have got two ways of being able to access those. And also read and write is another Google Workspace tool that you can use for audio and for readback and things as well. So just thinking about how we can make that learning accessible in literacy and across the curriculum for our students. Did anyone else have any quick UDL tips for Google Workspace?
Nothing to add there, Donna, but if people don't know that Read and Write for Google is the paid version is actually free for all educators. So I'll find that exact link and I will chuck it in the chat as well for everyone to add it to their own Chrome extensions and have a wee play with that. You can also apply for assistive technology for students in your school. And through assistive technology, you can apply for Read and Write for Google, especially with your dyslexic kids that have a official diagnosis for dyslexia. They're eligible for that. Just another handy tip to get those tools into schools for your kids.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel. And Julie's just posted about Cami. So we actually use Cami all the time. So Cami is a New Zealand company, and they have made a commitment to New Zealand educators. So you get the premium features free. There's normally a free and a paid version, but they've made a commitment to all New Zealand public school teachers to be able to have the paid version free. And it's amazing. And one of the things in Cami is that it perfect, Jeremy. I was just going to say exactly that. It has the dyslexia font in it, the open dyslexia font. So, and again, Cami has voice to text. It will also read the text back. Really cool thing with Cami is that there's a pen tool. So if we're on iPads, the kids can actually draw super easily. On Chromebooks, you could draw really easily with it. And if you use Google Classroom, then you can actually assign a Cami assignment through Google Classroom, and when you open it, you can see all of their assignments all in one place. So Cami is another one, Kami, that you might want to check out. Now, this is one of Carla's tips, and you may have noticed that Carla's not with us tonight. She is busy doing an amazing job somewhere else. But this was something that she used a lot, was just literally in Google Slides, putting in an image that relates to a focus that you have at that moment in time, and putting some speech bubbles in, and then giving the students a prompt. So what might the person be thinking? What would they say if you spoke to them today? So there's lots of different ways that you can just get the students to start thinking about visual images and start thinking about maybe themes in a story, or lots of different ways that you could use this. And following on from just captions is creating your own comics. So Google Slides are perfect for that, with the shapes and things in them, and bringing in images and using the filters. Somebody asked about extension ideas for students for literacy. Definitely generating their own comics and thinking about that succinctness of language that they have to use when they have less space to write those words. Creating their own comics is a fabulous way to do that. And if you're on the slide deck, this image here is actually linked to another slide deck that you can just give your students, and it will step them through how to create their own comics. And great for being able to read instructions and follow instructions, which a lot of us are still working on. And I think that's our quick fire. And yes, Juliet is going to introduce the lovely Jordan, who's going to share an idea that she uses. Juliet?
And we are on. I was just looking for that mute button. Seems to get smaller as you get older. So welcome to Jordan Shawcrest, who is one of our Google Innovators and Champions, a teacher at Rolleston School, which is near Christchurch. Hand it over to you, Jordan.
Cool. So I want to share about something you may know, but there's a new twist on it. I'm going to talk about Read Along, which is a feature built into Google Classroom. And it is an amazing tool. My school has actually had access since the very beginning when it was in early testing. So if you want to flick to the next one, please, Donna. So you find it down the bottom there. And I'll give you a little bit of insight into it. So Read Along is built with amazing pre-existing books. They have a growing range of text for students to read independently on their device. The device listens to the students. It gives them feedback and lets them know if they've got a word right or wrong. They can click on a word they don't know and it will pronounce it for them or define it. Or they can click on the wee character and it will read the whole sentence. The text range is massive, and it includes Hegere, the decodable text as well. It listens, corrects them, defines the word, and it has just continued to grow since it started, and it's learned a lot too. When it first started, it wasn't so good with New Zealand accents. It's really good with them now. So on to the next one, please, Donna. The latest addition that is coming, and I've been very lucky to get early access to it, is custom text. So we will now be able to put our own text into Read Along, and our students will read what we want them to read. So there's two parts to that. You can put in your own text, or you can generate it with AI. So they've built that into that as well. At the moment, the AI will generate a piece of fiction text for you, including comprehension questions. So on to the next one. So when you generate the piece of AI text, you can select a theme or put in keywords like this example here. You can also adjust the reading age. So you could put in the same prompt, but adjust the reading age to differentiate it for your students, and they'll get a slightly different story with the same theme. Every AI generated text comes with those questions at the end, or it gets them to identify the key theme or key ideas. And on to the next one, please. What I have been doing is I have been putting in school journal text that I've been reading with my class. So it takes about an hour after you've put the text in, and that is for it to process, so it will give your students live feedback like it does with the text that Google's already got on there. And it gives them the valuable feedback of, yes, you've got that word. Oh, you haven't quite got that correct. But then it also gives me that feedback and my students the mileage. Something that I'm really trying to work on is making sure that they get the mileage when you're trying to support kids from decodable level right the way through to reading at a 16-year-old level. So they read the first pages with me. Then the following day, they read it again, but on Read Along. And I've had amazing feedback. My kids keep asking to do it more often. They want to do Read Along because they are getting that feedback. It also gives them a star from every word. So they like to collect all the stars and try and get 100%. And then I get those results. So this is an example. It's looking at one of my reading groups. They read 212 words, and majority of them got 70 to 90% of it correct. And it lets me know what words they struggled with, so I can see if there's something in particular, if it's more like names and things. Next one, please. You also can get one-on-one data about an individual child, both for a single piece of text and over time. So at the top, my wee friend there, I can see from that same piece of text, how did they do? What were the specific words they struggled with? And then down the bottom, you can see words per minute, reading rate, and how they're going over time. The cool thing, Glenn, is that these journals don't go anywhere. This text isn't stored. It sits like a practice set in your Google Classroom and within your school space. So I haven't had any issues with it. And I did a lot of questioning and checking. I had a one-on-one session with a Google researcher when I first got access to it. Yeah, this is an awesome feature, and I can't wait for everyone to get access to it. I talked to my team leader after getting it about what I'm doing with my kids in reading as a valuable follow-up task, and she's used Read Along before and had sort of put it to one side, and this has got her buzzing about it again. So watch this space. It is coming, and use it. Yeah.
That is awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, there are times I wish we went on iPads. When you say it's coming, do you have any idea of when? Like a time frame of when it might be coming?
I'm sure Steve can give a more exact date, but I did put out in one of our GEG groups that if you reached out and filled in the form, you'd get early access because you have a one-on-one session where they got me to walk through the experience, but then asked me to keep it afterwards and continue using it. So, Steve, do we have an exact?
Yeah, it's at about 50% globally. They did a little pause because there's a couple of glitches, so it is continuing to roll out. And I was demoing this yesterday at Interface Expo in Taupo, and I opened this to show everyone Read Along, and it just arrived for me. I got very excited and might have made a bit of a loud squeaky noise on stage. But yeah, mine just arrived yesterday, so it looks like the rollout is continuing. So yeah.
And the researchers are still keen to get in contact with people, because I also had a one-on-one, Jordan. And yeah, it is amazing. And they're really trying to get as many educators' perspectives as possible to make it a tool that is internationally sound for everyone, pretty much. So if you're keen on that, flick me a message and I can send you the link too.
Yeah, we built an ANZ voice for Dia, and that now picks up both the ANZ accents a lot better than it used to when it only just had an American accent. So yeah, hopefully it's sounding pretty good.
So Steve, there was a question, is it available just in read along inside Google Classroom, or is it available in read along on the web as well?
So the classroom bit is the bit that Jordan was showing you there. The read along on the web is slightly different. You don't get quite as much of the classroom integration or the class integration. You can make class groups in the web version, but you don't get the reading reports and all that sort of stuff as well. So because that's all natively built into Classroom with Classroom environment, you're going to get the best if you're using it in there.
Cool. Very cool tool and perfect for literacy. Thank you for sharing that, Jordan. Dave, so Juliet, can you introduce Dave? I think this is
Right,
one of
and
Dave's.
we're off to Dave, who is the Network Delivery Manager for the Manaia Education Trust. He's been working there for about 9 years, might be a bit longer, and delivering high quality.
Just show you the side view of the grey hair. So, yeah.
So leading PLD for them, for their teachers, and to school clusters. Go, Dave.
Well, thanks for that, Juliet. I don't get to lead the PLD, but I love what GEG had to offer, and pleased to be here. I just thought I'd share a couple of things. None of them belong to me, but they're just things that I like. So this one is argumentation boards. It came from a Manaia Innovative Teacher Program from Rebecca Spice. She was teaching at Parker State School. In the notes there, you can see on her blog a video of her presenting all about the argumentation boards, but just really great ways to build up sort of critical literacy, or sort of adjacent to critical literacy argumentation skills. And there's some really good stuff around, how you build up text sets that contain that T-shaped literacy from Aaron Wilson. So link to how to make a board, really like that one. That's argumentation boards. So this one here, I'll add a little text on the right there, but this, again, I just wanted to, this is a shout out to Zach Moran at Point England School. And the video there is sort of just a how-to, but it's really about the literacy that you can gain from, and the reading mileage you can gain from having learners make their own text and have them operate out of Google Vids. And we're just seeing that the Google Vids interface, it's like a teleprompter style. You can change the pace. It works really well with learners in front of the camera, etc. So we're thinking that one's doing really well, available on the kids' devices, the Chromebooks. So that's a great one.
Thanks, Dave. Those are two really awesome shares. Thank you. And I've clicked on the links on each one of those and watched the kids' videos, and they're really amazing. And so there was a question about how could you use vids around literacy. So if you have some time and you want to jump in and watch those examples that Dave shared, they're really fantastic to see what you can do with vids. Juliet is going to share the next set of resources here.
Okay, so I just had a quick squiz at some of the financial literacy school tools, because I'm delivering a unit to some of my kids, and thought that would be useful to share because of obviously the latest announcements from the government. What I've found is that I know many people will be familiar with Banker. The one that I like, so Sorted has some brilliant resources for schools alongside the Young Enterprise New Zealand. But the one that I really like, and the kids have seemed to like at the moment, is Money Time, which is the New Zealand created financial literacy scheme. It is free for teachers, and you can set your class up on there, and it comes up with, it's basically gives them roles. So they start off as a gardener and they get a better job depending, and they sort of progress their way through the system by earning money. They can earn money and then save it and invest it, and so they have choice in how they distribute their money. And so I would give that a go. Go and have a tutu in there, you know, potentially in preparation for whatever gets rolled out. The other a resource that is really worth a plug is the Dream Workbook, which is for young innovators. So that's been created by a Hawke's Bay entrepreneur called Tessa Flowers, and she is really into getting young kids, you know, this is probably more primary school focused, looking at what they can create, creating their own products, marketing them, and then, you know, moving through to selling them in whatever shape that might be, whether it's in a market day or market days and stalls, etc. But yeah, just have a look at those. All the links are on that slide. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Julia. That's very timely and ties in with literacy. One of the things when you're thinking Google Workspace is we often overlook Google Sites. And Google Sites is a fantastic tool for us to use to collate a lot of our literacy resources. So I've just put an example of one there. If you click on the image, it's live, it'll take you to the site where over time we have just in a previous role created a whole lot of literacy examples that would be useful for teachers in schools. I haven't been in, I have to hand on heart, I haven't been in the last year probably and checked the links, so there might be a few that don't work. But definitely think about for your school, how might you use Google Sites to collate literacy resources to help your teachers across the board? And how might you lay that site out, and how might you organize it in a way that's going to make it easy for your staff to be able to navigate and just share those amazing resources that we all come across, but we tend not to maybe necessarily mention it to the team next door because we just get so busy and we forget to mention that we move on to something else. So having a place that we can collate everything in is really great for our team collaboration, and Google Sites is the perfect tool for us to do that. So I just put that in there as a reminder that Workspace has these amazing tools, and we just have to think about how might we use them across our curriculum. And of course, it would not be a GEG call if we do not mention AI in this day and age. So I've just popped in there very quickly one of the things that I do in terms of literacy is I've created a planning gem, and I'll put my hand up and say I did not start from scratch. There are so many educators out there that are sharing great things. And I think, Michael, this was very closely, I think somebody has probably taken an example that you shared, and then they've changed it, and then I've come across it, and then I've changed it, and then you click the little magic button, and then AI changes it for you. And so I put in all the things that I would like for my classroom, and because we are a one-to-one iPad school, I've put in there that I want whatever it suggests for me, I want it to assess it against the PICRAT model, because not only do I want to know what the technology is doing, but I want to know how the students are going to be interacting with that technology. So hence I went PICRAT and not SEMA. I want it to always think about the UDL principles. I want it to think about New Zealand context, and I save it as a gem because gems in Gemini are now free. So I put that in once, I save it as my planning gem, and then I could just go in and give it a prompt, and it might be a literacy outcome that I'm looking for, and it will give me some amazing suggestions. So I have just shown, I've just put the prompt there, and then what I said to it was suggest 5 ways that Google Docs or slides or forms could be used for a reading or writing activity for 10-year-olds. Focus is Rosa Parks, objective is comprehension and inferring. Super basic. Right, you're on, Michael. Super basic prompt. That's really not much information. But if you click on the link that says the GEM output, you'll see the amazing results that GEM gave me back. And then I can dig deeper into one of them, or I might maybe want to start again. But just by using that one GEM, it has given me some really cool tools to create some tasks for my kids in literacy. And what it's really done is changed up what I'm giving them. So I'm not giving them the same thing all the time, and the kids are really enjoying it. So that might be something that you can look at too. I know it's so good with gems. You just have to save that one. And the fact that when I put the instructions in for the gem and then press the little magic gem wand, and then it just completely rewrote it for me and turned it into this like really well written prompt that saved me heaps of time. So maybe have a look at and diving into Gemini. That might be your one takeaway today, is you might dive into Gemini and have a look at the gems and create a gem and keep that for yourself. And we know Michael is an amazing person with gems. So if you need any information, you might want to shoulder tap Michael. All right. So those are all our tips. We did it in just over 30 minutes, team. 2 minutes over, that's not too bad. Before we had our questions, are there any comments or questions about what we've gone through before we go into the questions that people submitted? Yeah, you can upload the English curriculum and the learning objectives. There's heaps of really cool ways that you can use gems. So these were the questions that came through on Steve's got a great, Steve, did you want to talk? You put your hand up.
Yes, please. Hey, look, I've just dropped the link into the chat. I'm collecting examples of gems that I can kind of put together and then share out with people, because people are like, oh, wow, how can you use these things? So that giant link that I put in there, I didn't do a flash short link to it. If anybody is willing to share the instructions for their gems, I'll put your name there. I'll 100% credit you for it. But there are lots of people sort of saying, can you give us some examples? And I'm making a few, but I'm running dry. So if you got any you can share, that'd be amazing if you drop into that form for me, please.
You could create a gem to say, be a gem creator.
Well, I might have actually done that with Gemini a couple of times. I see, this is what I want to do. Can you write me the gem instructions?
There we
I like
go.
beautiful instructions, but I like some real simple ones as well.
Okay, copy.
Magic, cheers.
I love the way that I put a simple instructions into the gem, but then I press the Gemini magic button and it turns it into one of those amazingly long ones. Okay, so we had a question about successful sound writing assessments, please, school-wide if possible. We drew a blank on that one. Even the ministry hasn't provided us with writing assessments yet. So I think that is a watch this space at the moment. And as is number 2, we have no idea why the ministry is doing what they're doing. We don't know what their philosophy is, so we can't comment on that one, sorry. Ideas for helping dyslexic children. So things like Cami, things like read and write, things like read along, where you can differentiate the text, are all good for dyslexic children. Anyone else want to throw something in there?
Maybe the font Lexend. Lexend is a great font for dyslexic readers.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And I also read about one called Sans Chantel. It's SAN and then SHANTELL, that was created by a dyslexic person, and they created that font because they found it easy to read. And it's now a font within Google, so that might be something too. Background colors, good idea, Jeremy, on resources. Yeah, awesome. And with Google, you can change the color of the page. So that's a really helpful tip. And Jordan, did you want to throw something in there?
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, check out Wonderopolis, because they've got these really interesting and engaging short pieces of text, but they also have a built-in immersive reading tool. So you can teach the kids to change the font, change the background color, get it to read to them, change the speed, change the amount they can see. And the second one is something that my colleague and I did last year, is we take a piece of text, put it into Gemini and ask Gemini to write it and maintain the same story but simplify the wording. So we did it with with myths and legends, and we had like 3 different variations of it, and rather than handwriting it, Gemini adapted it and helped us target them at the level they were at. So don't be afraid to just ask Gemini to do the work.
Yeah, and Diffit will do that too. So you can put the same story into Diffit and you can give it 3 different reading levels, and it will give you the sense of the text will stay the same, but the reading level will change. And Steve's great suggestion was reading mode in Chrome. And in reading mode, you can do the same, change the size of the text, you can change the font. Can you change the background colors, Steve, in reading mode?
Yeah, you sure can. There's like a light blue, there's a light or dark, and there's a light yellow. So the ones that are all approved. And Poppins is the great font in there that's brilliant for dyslexic kids. Or adults.
And yeah, and you know, with reading mode, people, when you click reading mode, that you can actually drag the bar across and actually make reading mode wider. It doesn't have to just be that narrow part on the side.
And
All
stripped out
great
commands
ideas.
and all the pictures and all that sort of stuff as well. So it makes it a lot easier to consume.
Yeah. Any ideas to extend very capable year 8 learners? Can we make a list? Yes, we can, Martin, and we will add it onto a slide. So we'll make a list of those fonts and suggestions, and we will add an extra slide in there. Year 8 learners, so vids, using vids with your year 8 learners, and getting them to create videos and podcasts. That's a really great extension. Using Diffit to create stories at a high level, and then use the tasks within Diffit to get them to use that critical thinking can be really helpful. Any other ideas, team, for extending capable year 8 learners? SH, Chantal. Juliet, SH.
For vids, I mean, you can get your more capable students to actually write the script for the vid.
Yeah.
So you get those kids that may never want to be on the camera, like Dave, and kids like me that desperately want to be in front of the camera whenever I can. So yeah, you get Dave to write the script for me to say if Dave doesn't want to be on camera.
Oh, I think we've covered off number 5. We're talking about vids. A lot of discussion around meaningful independent tasks of structured literacy. Yes, especially students achieving well below. Maybe check out those 3 sites that we put earlier on that all link to activities for structured literacy. One of the things I found with my students is they were finding, I'll use the word repetitive, the structured literacy kind of format. So we changed it up this term, and I've created a Minecraft activity for them where they have to look at the spelling pattern, and it's the spelling pattern that they still need to learn. So we use the code, and so I've gone through, noted down all of each student's gaps, and so they've got all of their gaps, and they get to choose the spelling pattern they want to focus on. They have to find some words with that spelling pattern. They have to use it in a couple of sentences. Then they dive into Minecraft, and they have to create a Minecraft build, and there's a whole lot of parameters around what that build has to use and has to have in it, but it all focuses on that spelling pattern. And I will say that our engagement has gone amazingly. So that's really cool. Dave, you want to add something to that?
Just with regard to structured literacy, Sunshine, Wendy Pye has created a series called Reading Road, which is a structured literacy that's purposed for year 6 to 10, I believe. There's 2 series of it, and what's coming out is it's accompanying the books, but it's a online AI-driven tool that will help learners with identifying the words and things that they've got patterns. So it's going to be free to New Zealand schools, and it'll be interesting to see what people think of that.
Cool, thanks, Dave. We'll look forward to that. Anyone else want to jump in on the structured literacy? Okay. AI tools for self-marking exams. So I'm guessing Google Forms and make it a quiz. That would be really helpful. Quizzes is good for that. And you can create self-marking things in that. I'm not sure about self-marking exams. I'm thinking that's more of a secondary thing. Anybody got anything to add on that?
So Gemini, you can hit the plus, give it a marking schedule, and then add the essay to it, and it will mark it really well. I tested it with a bunch of IB geography essays. It marked pretty much exactly the same way I would mark it. Now I kind of don't talk about that as a marker, but more as a check marker. So I'm still doing the marking. I'm using it as a check mark against me. But yeah, you can put a marking rubric into it, drop a 4 or 5 page essay into there, and it'll mark it beautifully and give you some really nice feedback. So that's an interesting one. The other one you can think about is practice sets as well, which is self-marking, and you can track your testing in there.
Cool, thanks, Steve. AI feedback for students to improve their writing. Brisk is probably one of the better ones for that, where it gives you the glow and grow. Literacy tools for te reo. Rachel and I had a great discussion around that, and Currently, we couldn't come across any specific tools specifically for Te Reo Māori, but we did talk about a lot of what you would do in the English classroom. You would do the same in your Te Reo Māori classes, but just use your own language and fit it to your cultural context. So creating those books, interactive books, choose your own path of stories and Google Slides, but using Te Reo to do that. And any help with BSLA resources, learning platforms, planning for phase 2? Anyone got an answer for that?
That's a PLD facilitator question.
Yeah. Alrighty. So those are all of our questions.
Sorry, just back on the Te Reo resources.
Yep.
And there are, it's very hard to come across good ones. So in the AI space, definitely this is where Gemini isn't playing ball, but like ChatGPT and Claude are doing a very good job in that space. In terms of the integrations, ones like for the actual learning of the language, Quizlet is got really good integration of the dictionaries, so that works quite well in that space. Another one that sort of is a little bit of a misnomer, or it's a strange one, but in Scratch, if people actually switch on the Te Reo version of Scratch, it's really quite a full featured set of languaging in there.
Thanks, Dave. That's really helpful. Okay, so any other questions before we flick to Steve's updates?
Yeah, one more little thing. I've been doing a demo on this recently. Using Canvas and Gemini, I created a Te Reo language quiz where it was a drag and drop or it was a multi-choice. So you can create that in Canvas, grab the code, then drop it into a Google site, for instance, and you'll have a fully built interactive sitting on your site. So I just grabbed the PDF of 20 words, 20 meanings, pointed it to the Māori dictionary as well as a reference point, and then said, can you make me a drag and drop matching game to match words against their meaning using this and this only? And it built me a full interactive. Grab the code, drop it into my site. And so if you're thinking about learning vocab, it's a really nice way to do it that is not going to make stuff up as well. So it was a really nice use of Canvas inside of Gemini. Yeah, I will do, Martin. I have got that. I've actually got that interface. So I'll share it with you. It's on my slides.
Awesome. All right, Steve, we're over to you for your updates.
All right. All right, first one I'll start with is one that you may or may not have seen recently. So we've been talking a bit about Gemini. I've been talking a lot to especially education leaders around what your teams are using at school, what's safe, what's not safe. Gemini now has full data protection, as you know. Notebook LM also has full data protection, but they are now both core services inside of Workspace for Education. What that means is they are governed by exactly the same terms and conditions as Docs, Slides, Sheets, Classroom. In other words, you own your data, it goes nowhere, it doesn't train anything. So really, really important. If we just flick to the next slide, I think I've got it there. Yeah, so there it is. So it is a core service under Workspace for Education. So it is under Workspace for Education terms. So really, really important. And it just means that nothing goes anywhere. If you do put stuff in there you shouldn't, it's not going to go anywhere. It sits in your school domain. Okay, so it doesn't go into our information. It doesn't train the model, all that sort of good stuff you want to know. So really, really important point for educators. The fact is it is now a core service. All right, next one. Yeah, I was talking about this one before. So now if you go into your admin console, you can turn on integrations. Now what that means is, as you can see a little picture there, I've asked Gemini, so this is free Gemini, to give me a summary of that slide deck. So now we can turn on integrations with Calendar, Docs, Drive, Gmail, Keep, and Tasks. So I could ask Gemini, what's in my calendar for next Wednesday? Or when am I meeting Juliet next Wednesday? I said that because I'm looking straight in the middle of my screen there, Juliet. So there is these integrations now inside of Gemini under the plus down the bottom. You do need to get your admin to turn that on to allow that to work as well. Next one. Now this is a little video. Now this is something I'm gonna put my hand on my heart and didn't even know this is a thing. But if you just click the little play button on that, when you're using Screencast listens to your voice and it transcribes everything you say. So this is Screencast on Chromebooks. And if we just click the play button on that one, in that little YouTube clip in the middle there, you could now, beside the transcript, drop down translate, and the video will show. If someone can click the video for me, who's driving the slides?
I'm trying, Steve. I'm trying.
They're not clicking for you.
It's not working.
How
No,
do you-
nothing's happening.
Yep. So yeah, when you've got your transcript up the top there by where my cursor is, you can see it says Afrikaans. So it's actually translated that entirely into Afrikaans for me from English. So I did this. There we go. So I did it in English. It got the transcript. When I go up the top there, I can click that.
Ready to get started with generative AI? Here are 5 must-knows. AI is a machine learning model, not a human. AI might provide.
Then drop it down, and I think I go to Dutch next. Yeah, that's really, I left the volume up way too loud for that one, sorry. And there is also a little drop down for Te Reo Māori. And so this little video, when it plays, will show that I actually translated my Screencast transcript direct into Te Reo Māori. Now, I'd love someone to check that for me and see, thank you, Rach, and seeing which area of New Zealand the Te Reo comes from. Because we are lucky in New Zealand that we have we have lots of versions of Te Reo that are regional, but they are fairly similar. Our friends across in Australia have thousands of different First Nations languages, so it becomes really difficult to do that. But anyway, this is something I found. So in Screencast and Chromebooks, once you've got that transcription, you can then auto-translate it, which is pretty cool. It doesn't go back the other way and translate my voice into Afrikaans, unfortunately, but you can follow along with the translation. It's a pretty cool little thing that I just stumbled across on when I was playing around, when I was making resources around Screencast on Chrome.
I have checked it with a couple of fluent speakers, Steve-O.
Yep.
The Reo Māori and Afrikaans, actually. And Afrikaans was better than the Te Reo Māori, but still not 100%.
Yep.
And the Te Reo Māori was very... it was comprehensible, but quite pidgin.
It's kind of one-to-one words. Yeah, no, that's the thing about Te Reo, and that's why often a lot of AIs don't get it right, because they often do word for word, whereas you won't get the actual meaning of the sentence. So look, it is a start, but it was something I just uncovered and went, hey, this might be useful.
Yeah, we were looking at it to try and support our English as a second language students. So we just did a little trial run on quite simple sentences. Yeah, but cool. Yeah, work in progress, and it's great that Te Reo was even an option on there, so that was exciting.
Nice, thanks, Rach. Cool. All right, next one. Okay, so now 2015, I went to my very first Google Summit at Albany Senior High School, and I did my very first workshop about Google tools, and there was one person in my workshop, and at the end, she admitted she was in the wrong workshop. So she stayed for the whole time, and it was amazing. And so 2025, the Google Summits are back at Albany Senior High. Now, we have funded them this time, so there is zero cost to attend the Google Summit. It is in September in the holidays. It is run by Deploy Learning. So yes, Jim Sill will be there. All the regular crew will be there. And if you notice, there is a very special guest coming to New Zealand. Mr. Eric Kurtz is going to be there at the summit as well. Jim asked him if he'd like to come to New Zealand, and there are a couple of expletives, then yes, please. So he's very stoked to get down here and come and talk at our summit. It's going to be up at Albany Senior High in Auckland. So we've got the summit one day, and then for our champions, we have the Energizer the next. So 2 full-on days of amazing Googliness. So really excited to that. There is a tiny URL at the top there, which will take you to the registration page to grab a ticket. I'm pretty sure once more people see who's going to be there, who's speaking, the fact that it is paid for by Google for Education as well, fully subsidized. And Eric's going to be there. This one is definitely going to be a seller, I would say. So hard to get tickets. So jump in there onto that tiny URL. Thanks, Rach. We're pretty excited to be bringing these back.
All right, thanks for that, Steve. So yes, I already have my ticket. we'll say. Okay, so that is it. That is all our information for this round. So we would love you to scan the QR code and fill out that form. We're going to give you a couple of minutes. And of course, if you scan that and you fill out the feedback form, we will grab your name and put it into a spinner. And Steve has got some swag for you that you may win. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to, I'm going to stop sharing and oh no, I'm not, because you need that link. So either scan the QR code. Now you know that you can use Google Lens just to scan that QR code, and it will open up the link in the same screen for you in the same tab, and you can jump straight into where you need to go. So if you're on a laptop, you can still scan the QR code, or you can copy the Brainly and put it in, and we will grab your names in a minute. Just give you a minute to do that.
And I think last time that I shared that you can actually pin Google Lens into your Chrome browser toolbar now. The 3 dots,
in that toolbar.
customize Chrome, so you can put you can pin it up there. You can also pin the QR code creator, and I've also pinned reading mode up there as well. So it's really easy to find that. So customize Chrome, 3 dots. So 3 dots in Chrome browser, down to more tools, customize Chrome, and then you can pin Google Lens up there as well. And it will do grab text, it will do translate, it will do a reverse image search, it will do read your QR codes as well. So a nice little bit there to fill some time while everyone's filling in the form.
Awesome. Rachel, do you by any chance have the Google Sheet form quickly, or shall I access it? It will be in the GEG folder. And then I can leave this on the screen for the good people to grab that Brainly or scan that code, scan the QR code. Yes, actually, Steve, that tip is in my slide deck that I share, teacher tips. That is such a good tip to be able to pin those useful tools at the top. Actually, I might stop recording so that we don't show people's names.
Yeah, you can get your students to go through those 3 dots as well and pin things into their toolbars they want to use, especially for those kids that want to get to reading mode and can just switch it on for themselves, jump in there and switch it off again. So it's a nice little way to do it.
Thanks, Steve.